Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
How come nobody's ever tried to be a superhero?
Dude, if anybody did it in real life, they'd get their ass kicked. They'd be dead in like a day.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday movie show. Okay,
Monday movie tour.
Yeah, yeah. I'm 10 seconds in and already completely fluffing my lines. Coming up in this part of the show, in the cinema section, which apologies for the delay because of technical problems. We are running about 10 minutes late. We have reviews of these new releases.
We have the sequel to the superhero hit Kick-Ass 2. We have Disney animated film Planes, comedy film and Bachelorette's an action comedy movie, I'm guessing, Two Guns.
Yeah. Before that, though, we will be going through the latest movie news and box office top 10. If you're listening to us live, you're listening to Andy here.
And Stuart. I was wondering if you were going to do that.
I was. And we'll be with you hopefully for the next sort of 90 minutes or so, going through this and then through the DVD section afterwards. If you're listening to us live, join us in chat in the bottom right hand corner of the Spreaker page. Feel free to send us any messages, although please be kind of nice. So let's go straight on into some movie news. You want to start?
Right, I'll kick it off this week because I've got more news than you.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane has gone on Twitter to confirm that the Ted sequel is in works and that it will hit cinemas in April 2015. MacFarlane said, "When is Ted? We're aiming for a 2015 Passover release date. Mark Wahlberg will reprise his role as John Bennett in the film."
I've seen a poster for this, but I don't know if it's a legitimate poster or if it's just a fan made one. But it's got Ted and Mark Wahlberg's character and her name is Mila Kunis's character sitting on a couch, and there's another Ted next to Ted as well. So I don't know if that's real or if it's just been made up by a fan. But I mean, if that's true, that will give you an idea, I guess, of where they're going to go with another Ted movie.
So Ted and he's either twin brother or a sister?
No, I think it was kind of dressed up with. If I remember rightly, it looked like it was wearing a dress or something, so probably a companion female for one. Ted there, yes.
A Tedette, Mila Kunis's opposite side to Mark Wahlberg's opposite side. So he might find out that she had a buddy a bit like Ted when she was young, a thunder buddy.
And the question is, if they do that, who would they have? Who should they get in, actually, to do a voice? That would be an interesting question.
Please not Rebel Wilson, because I've seen her too much at the moment, so please not her. They'll probably will get somebody like her or Melissa McCarthy or something like that, and I really do hope that Seth MacFarlane doesn't go down that route.
They'll probably get someone in from Family Guy again. Actually,
they should just get. I was going to say Mila Kunis do the voice, but then Mark Wahlberg would do the voice. They can get what they call her. She does the voice of Lois.
In Family Guy. I can't think of her name right now, but yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it'll probably crop into my head in a moment. According to a report, Joseph Kosinski, the director of Tron Legacy and Oblivion, will be taking the director's chair on the new Twilight Zone movie. The film that Leonardo DiCaprio has been trying to produce for a while now will have its script worked on by Kosinski first before he dons his directing cap.
I'm a fan of this now, I have to admit, because I liked Tron Legacy and I really liked Oblivion, which will be reviewed by Stuart in the second half of the show later tonight. And I'm looking forward to anything else he does. I'm not so big on the Twilight Zone, but he is the kind of director who is good at visual stuff, and he's good at putting together, I think, an overall film. So I'm kind of okay with this.
By the way, Alex Boston is the woman who does the voice of Lois in Family Guy.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I think
she's been really good. Yeah, because she does a lot of voices, so she's good at doing different voices on the show. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm reviewing Oblivion in the DVD/Blu-ray section of the show. You already probably know what I thought about it when we reviewed it in the cinema section a few months ago. I do like his visual style. I like the way he shoots his movies. So I think he might be able to bring something to the Twilight Zone as long as he reels it back a little bit, because I think he has a problem with the story. He needs somebody to help him with the story, but the Twilight Zone is such a weird thing anyway, so it might.
You could pretty much do anything, yeah.
Yeah. My final piece of news is Christian Bale is allegedly being offered $50 million by Warner Brothers for him to return as Batman in the Superman vs. Batman film. Bale has previously said that he's done with playing the Dark Knight. If Bale doesn't return, then Orlando Bloom is hot favourite to play Batman.
First of all, Orlando Bloom as Batman. I'm sorry, but no. Just no. If you're going to go down that route of having someone who is younger, then I would say no. Just if you're going to have to do that, do. I'm really losing names again. Who was going to be set up for like the next Batman in Dark Knight Rises? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. I would rather, if they had to do that, they would go with him. But I still don't think he'd be a good choice. I want them to do someone that fits it more. It's Orlando Bloom would be a terrible choice.
Very bland, isn't he?
This is another one of these rumours about an actor being offered something which is ridiculous. I mean, you heard the one about Hugh Jackman being offered $100 million to appear as Wolverine 4 more times, which has been, he's said that's not true. So I don't buy it that Christian Bale's been offered $50 million. I just don't buy it. It's too much. You wouldn't see a studio paying an actor that much.
Yeah, that's true. They could go down the route of where they might get a slight unknown. I think they should actually go down that route, because if they want to make this the proper stepping stone of trying to do a new Batman series, then it's probably best to go with somebody a bit more younger and maybe somebody a little bit more unknown, so they can mould them into the character of it, so they can get like Christian Bale's Batman out of people's minds.
Fact is as well, because this is going to be a film with the 2 super characters in it, are we going to see sequences of them separately as well? Because if we are, are we going to see Bruce Wayne, or are we just going to see Batman? Because that would make a difference as to who you cast as well. You've got some actors that would be good as Bruce Wayne, but not good as Batman, and vice versa. But really, they need an actor who can do both roles, because it is like 2 separate roles.
Agreed, yeah.
The other piece of news we've got is that Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot has had its release date changed yet again. Previously, the movie's date was changed from December 2013 to June 6, 2014, which has now been decided to change that date again back another month to August of 2014. The reason for the move is rumoured to be due to Michael Bay's other movie, which is due out next year, Transformers 4, which is due out on the 10th of July 2014.
Wasn't August the release date for us? So isn't America getting it at the same time as us?
I'm not sure if the thing is, if that's been moved back there, has it been moved back here? There's not been an update on any UK release dates for it. So if it's been moved, it might have been moved back here. I mean, we seem to be getting a lot of films now either on the exact same date, or in a few cases, like Thor later this year, we get them a week early, which is brilliant.
Yeah, very true.
That's it for the news this week. Let's go straight into the box office top 10.
Yep, and a new entry at number 10 for Bollywood film Chennai Express.
Yeah, doing really well, because it's just coming. It's only come in at number 10, but it has made almost £1 million in its opening week. And we don't know much about this because we generally just don't get to see Bollywood films because they're not shown near us. The only thing you can tell about this is that it is an action comedy film, and it seems to be doing well with people who like Bollywood films, because, as I say, almost £1 million in its opening week, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, second highest grossing Bollywood film in its debut weekend of all time.
Be interesting to see if it's still around in the box office next week, though.
Yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention before I go on to number 9 is Despicable Me 2 has now become the highest grossing UK film of the year. Highest grossing film in the UK box office of the year. Even though it's not in the top 10, it was at number 11, and I think it took something like 900,000. So
it's probably had a little slight boost recently with the holidays.
Yeah, it's now gone past Les Miserables. Number 9 is The Wolverine.
Which is, frankly, as a fan of comics and the characters of the X-Men series, it's a disappointment. It's far too slow-paced. It's got a decent couple of action bits in it, but it's got badly written characters apart from actual Logan Wolverine, who is probably the better version we've seen of him on screen, but it's still very, very shallow for what it should be.
Yeah, number 8 is The Heat.
Talking of shallow, this film is just... I really disliked it. I didn't think it was funny. It's just a rehash of loads of scenes from 80s action movies edited together very poorly. I've said before, a Frankenstein of a film with just 2 female leads in it. That's the only thing that's different about this, is it has 2 female leads in there and not a man and a woman or 2 men as the comedy sidekick duo. And it's a waste of talent.
Yeah, number 7 is The Smurfs 2.
Which I haven't seen, but you have.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know. I don't think anybody expected any better than terrible anyway. So I still can't believe that it did better than Pacific Rim at the US box office. I can't get around that. But it is awful. At number 6 is Monsters University,
which is really pale, I think, in comparison to Monsters Inc., which is a masterpiece. The big, massive problem with it is that it just doesn't feel like it's in the same kind of class. It's very poorly put together. I thought that the writing was very shoddy. It's not. There's no point in it that I actually got really excited like I did with Monsters Inc. And it just feels like a 90-minute or 100-minute collage of clips and put together and stretched out. I'm annoyed that a lot of people are saying it's really, really good, because I'm challenging them. If you go and see Monsters University, go home and then watch Monsters Inc. and tell me that Monsters University was still good as you thought.
At number 5 is a lower than you went we expected, is The Lone Ranger,
which I really did enjoy, despite the fact that it has obviously got a lot of problems. The biggest of which is that it is 2.5 hours long, which is ridiculous for this kind of film. It's far too long. Johnny Depp is put far too much in the foreground when he should be a background, because he is meant to be a background character. It kind of doesn't know whether it wants to be serious or be funny. And then halfway through, every now and again, it turns into Pirates of the Caribbean in a Western.
It doesn't sound like my cup of tea at all. And number 4 is The Conjuring.
I'm pretty sure you'll hate The Lone Ranger when it comes to DVD. You really will despise it. I haven't seen The Conjuring. I don't intend to. From what I hear, it's quite terrifying.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if you will be brave enough to watch this on DVD/Blu-ray when it comes out.
Well, is it freakier than Mama? Because Mama I watched and I liked some stuff in it, but it freaked me out.
It's not freaky. It doesn't go for that twisted, freaky kind of thing. It goes for more of the ghost kind of thing. It's more ethereal. There are a few possession bits in the movie, but what do you expect from a movie about somebody who does get possessed? You need to see that kind of thing, but it hasn't got that freaky sort of dream-like twisted thing that Guillermo del Toro really likes to do. James Wan, even though he does dabble in a lot of supernatural things like this, his is very much straight-faced. So if you know the films from the 70s and 80s, films like Poltergeist, etc., it has a more of a feel of that.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I've heard is that people saying that it's very unoriginal, that it feels like a pastiche of a lot of other films that have been put together.
It is, but that's doing it a bit of injustice, because I do like the way James Wan directs, and he can handle things like that really well. And number 3 is a new entry for Grown Ups 2.
Again, I haven't seen this. I'm unfortunately going to have to do this one on DVD.
Yeah, to say that this has any kind of story whatsoever is just, it's laughable. To say that this has any jokes in it whatsoever is probably the only laughable thing that you're going to get out of the movie. It's another one of those films where, what did you expect? Did you expect it to be very good? If you did, then you need to slap yourself across the face, because it's not. It's awful. And number 2 is a new entry for Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, I liked this, but the thing is, the first Percy Jackson film, Lightning Thief, that was fun. It's enjoyable. I have it in my collection. But that was directed by Christopher Columbus. I don't have the name in front of me of who directed Sea of Monsters, but this is kind of the same. It's not better. It's not worse, but it's not quite as well put together from a directing standpoint. It feels very rugged around the edges, and kind of lacking that. There's that kind of magical glow that you get with a Christopher Columbus kids film. I mean, the Home Alone films have it, and the first Percy Jackson has it. This one doesn't, but it's still enjoyable. It's just missing that spark a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not missing the spark a little bit. It's missing the spark a lot. It's trying to be like an old-fashioned 80s adventure film, but fails on every single time it tries.
I think it is very, very heavily reliant on effects where it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, and finally, and you went with number 1 for Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa.
Yeah, which this surprised no one more than me. I really am surprised how much I, first of all, enjoyed it, how much I laughed, how much everyone in the audience I was with laughed. Some of them more than me, some of them less than me, but nobody at any point sort of looked like they were checking their watch, waiting for the film to finish. It's not long either; it's 90 minutes and works fine. And seriously, surprisingly fun from start to finish. I couldn't believe it because the fact I don't like Alan Partridge.
Yeah, again, I'm probably going to have to wait for this to come out on DVD because I'm not going to go to the cinema to see it.
The thing is as well, it is one of those group audience things. If you see it at home, I don't think it'll have the same effect. So because it's different from the television show in that respect. In the television show, people they can watch on their own and enjoy it as much. I don't think this will work in that respect. That's it for the box office top 10. We're going to have a quick break, after which we'll be back with our first cinema release this week.
The From Page to Screen movie cast. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Hi, this is Ben Lloyd Holmes from Monster Movie The Expedition. Come find us on Twitter and Facebook at Expedition Movie. You're listening to Movie Mondays.
So you heard there from Page to Screen, and also you heard an intro there for us from Ben Lloyd Holmes, who is one of the stars of an upcoming movie being made, The Expedition. I forgot the title right there. I think I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
No,
it's because on Twitter they're known as
Expedition Movie. Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to think. Hang on a minute, is that right? No. Yeah.
Well, they've got a live chat thing after us tonight, so I might send them a message on their live stream that they're going to do, saying, "Why did you call your Twitter feed Expedition Movie, not Expedition the Movie?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to get in trouble for that, I think. No. I mean, I that's kind of like going off on one here, but I was speaking with Stuart from Page to Screen, and with him and with Ben Lloyd Holmes on his latest edition of his show, The British Show, just yesterday evening, and he sounds like he's a really sound guy, really nice guy, great fun chatting with him, and I do recommend you check that out, and also check out The Expedition, which is Expedition Movie on Twitter. So let's go into our first cinema release this week, which is
Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah.
And it's
directed by like how I did that, no?
No. And it's directed by Jeff Wadlow. Who directed the first one again? Matthew Vaughn, didn't he?
Yes, who is produced on this one.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn decides to step away from Kick-Ass, and like Andy says, he's the producer on this one, and gave the reins to Jeff Wadlow, and it stars obviously Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Actually, his name now is Aaron Taylor-Johnson. The first one was just Aaron Johnson, so he's decided to use his double-barrel name. And he returns as Dave, or Kick-Ass, his alter ego, and for the... You discover that the whole, after his escapades in the first film, everybody else wants to sort of like be, they're not vigilantes in the way, but they're good sort of like vigilantes. They want to become superheroes without obviously the superpowers and do good for the world. And so obviously Kick-Ass is, you might as well say, hung up his boots. You've got Hit Girl, who's played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Mindy. Slight, but well, it is actually a spoiler. Unfortunately, it is mentioned at the start of the film. Her father is dead now, and so she's lamenting the loss of her father. And she is getting looked after by Detective Williams, who's played by Morris Chestnut. Awesome last name. And so he wants her to be a normal, ordinary girl. Just a simple, normal, ordinary girl at high school. Like I said, Dave, he's just a normal person in high school, along with his two friends, which are played by, I don't think I've actually got them written down here. It's Clark Duke and August Pugh, who plays his two friends, Todd and Marty. And so he just wants to have a normal life. Detective Williams just wants Hit Girl to have a normal life. Actually, I don't think Dave doesn't want to actually have the normal life. He wants to become Kick-Ass again. He tries to seek help from Hit Girl and trains up a little bit with her, but the more he trains up with her and the more she trains up with him, the more she starts to become a bit sort of like she doesn't want to do it anymore. She does want to think she needs to be a normal girl to show that Detective Williams is saying that, yeah, fine, you can have your childhood back, because he thinks that she's not having a proper childhood. Alternately, you've got the character who was played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse in the first one, who plays Chris, or Red Mist in the first one, and he wants to seek revenge on Kick-Ass for what Kick-Ass did to his father. He actually shot him with a bazooka. And so he wants to seek revenge of what he does to that, and he becomes an extreme alter ego, which I can't reveal the name of him on here. Yes. And he like I said, he wants to take revenge. While this is happening, a group led by Jim Carrey, who plays Colonel Stars, Captain, well, actually it's Colonel Stars and Stripes, I've got it written down here as Captain and Colonel. It brings together a group of people along with Kick-Ass to try and sort of like rid the city of evil. Here's a clip.
You know what? Screw this. My superpower is that I'm rich. Hey, you want to work for me, huh? You want to beat people up for me?
Sure.
All right. Let's get you a mask and a costume, and we will call you Black Death.
Whoa. You don't think that's just a little bit incredibly racist?
I want you to put the word out that I'm willing to pay top dollar for every hired hitter in town.
Come on, let's just talk about it first.
Money talks. You wanted me to be my own man. This is what it looks like.
All right, I'll make some calls.
Yes!
And so, I will say all hell breaks loose, but this is a Kick-Ass film, so you can probably expect that. Sorry, clean my throat there, got a bit of a frog caught. Now, I'll say a few problems I had with the film. I just think it's not very as well handled as the first one. It seems like it lacks a lot in the middle part of the movie. It just loses its way when Hit Girl decides to become a normal, ordinary girl in Mindy, and when it's just exploring her and the fact that she does get stood up by these higher-up girls in school, etc. You're just thinking to yourself, will you just become Hit Girl again and do what you did in the first one? Because your character was fantastic in this. In this one, you're just becoming a mopey character, and you're just becoming really boring. The sort of same is with Dave as well. Kick-Ass doesn't get very much to do in this movie until the last 15 minutes of the film. He does get his ass kicked, to be honest, a couple of times, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, there's been a gap between you playing Kick-Ass and becoming an ordinary person. How comes you've lost your ability to be able to fight again? Why do you need to be properly, fully trained up when the physique that he's got gives it away? If somebody's got an ordinary physique like that, how can he get his ass kicked the amount of times that he does get kicked, considering that he was, by the end of the first film, really good at fighting? How comes he's become really rubbish at this? Christopher Mintz-Plasse, what he does, he takes his character to a whole new, insane level. He's an absolute insane character. When he decides to take on the persona of the mother, expletive, then I liked him like that because he's just completely over the top. He brings in a character called Mother Russia, which I loved. She's an absolutely nuts character. There's a scene which involves 20 police officers, and part of that scene involves 2 police cars and a lawnmower. Just piece that together and think what you can get from that. And so the movie itself has its moments. It has its brilliance, like the original Kick-Ass, especially Jim Carrey's character, which I loved. He's only in the film 10 minutes, though, which it's a waste of a character. But it doesn't have that brilliant feel like the original one did. It loses its way a lot in the film, and instead of being the really entertaining sequel that it should have been, it's just a really average sequel.
I'm just going to add as well, because I think largely the same way that you do on this. I think that it kind of loses its way, especially when you get to that point with Mother Russia and the police cars on the lawnmower. That turns into it's quite a well done action sequence, but it's kind of feels out of place for this movie, because then the movie starts to ramp up action in place of the kind of the comedy sort of spoof on superheroes in the real world. And it's
the thing is, though, I think it needed that. It needed, because it started to become a bit lethargic before then. It was just trudging along, and it needed something, because the comics are insane, and the first film, the insanity does build up, and it needed something where it's showing that it has got balls, to be honest, because it was going to be called Balls to the Wall.
Yeah.
And it needed something to do that, and it's ironic that it got a 7-foot big muscly Russian character to do that.
But I still feel that as it goes on, that it turns into an average action film instead of being the piece of work that Kick-Ass 1 was. It then loses its way, and then by the end of the film, it just turns into an action film. I mean, you have a sequence as well of a fight between Hit Girl and Mother Russia, which then literally turns into superhero comic stuff instead of being sort of grounded, as it were, in the real world more. So for me, that was kind of what took me out of it a bit. It's still enjoyable, it's still fun, but it starts off, you think, okay, this might be as good as the first one or better than the first one. And by the end of the film, I felt it kind of went and lost that, and it turned out not being as good as the first one, which was a bit of a shame because it had the potential there.
Yeah, I felt Hit Girl lost her sort of like controversial nature. I think they were trying to be a bit more controversial in this by adding some dodgy lines into her character, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's okay, but it's not anywhere near as good as it really should be. Planes, which is Disney's latest animated movie, which is a spin-off from the Pixar Cars series. It even starts at the start, in the world of Cars. Planes, big words coming up on the screen. It's basically an animated film following the character of Dusty Crophopper, who is a crop dusting plane, voiced by Dane Cook, who has kind of dreams of being a entry into this round the world race, and everyone sort of puts him down about it. Everyone says, "Oh, it's ridiculous! You're a cop, Dusty. You can't really do that." But he does then basically get an entry into it and get a chance to actually go for it when all of the people around him, including his sort of pit staff and people that help him and sort of, take care of his engines, things like that, kind of have a bit of a talk with him. Here's a clip.
Dusty, you're not built to race. You're built to dust crops. Do you know what will happen if you push it too far? Wing flutter, metal fatigue, turbine failure. Oh no, I'm going down. Why didn't I listen to Dottie?
Yeah, why don't you listen to Dottie?
She's the smartest mechanic in the world. Oh my gosh,
What?
The orphanage kids
No,
fly
not
out
the
of the way. Ah,
The kids.
Wow, that was vivid and specific. And exactly why I need you to come with us to the qualifier.
You're unbelievable.
Oh, you hear that? I'm unbelievable.
So Dusty does enter into this competition. He fails at qualifying, but then manages, because of something else that happens, to get in as a qualifying race entrant, and goes on this race around the world where he's competing against the best flyers that there are in the world. It is typical Disney kids film, but the problem is that there's this whole thing recently with Pixar films been very lackluster. They've kind of lost their way recently, and this is not Pixar, but you had earlier in the year Wreck-It Ralph, which is the same kind of studio as this, but wasn't Pixar, but was a very Pixar-styled movie, and kind of stole Pixar's thunder. So I was wondering with this if it was going to be the same or not. Unfortunately, it's not. It really is lacking that magic of Pixar and the great animated films that you had. There is nothing particularly funny in it, even though it does have a couple of really weak attempts at humour. Nothing. There's literally moments when I was sitting there and I was starting to get edge of boredom for the sequences where the characters are just sitting around talking. There is, however, though, some really nicely created special effects, created CGI effects of the flying sequences and those. I mean, and this was in 3D. I saw it as well. The 3D on it for the flying sequences was really quite impressive in a couple of them. It's just that there's not enough of them. You have this thing with this race. It's supposed to be around the world, 7 big sort of chapters as they go around the world, and you kind of get a look at each one for about, I don't know. In some cases, you get a look at one of them for about 30 seconds, and that's it. If they had spent more time on the flying on the sequences of people, flying in and out between each other, and the way that they can make that look amazing, this would have been so much better. As it is, it's just average, because every now and again you get a little bit of action, then a stop for everyone talking for about 5 minutes, and you go, okay, I'm getting bored now. Oh, look, there's action. Oh, okay, talking again. Oh, I'm bored now again. Okay, it's action. Oh, yeah, okay. And then they needed to ramp that up. So it looks great on the big screen, but it's kind of like one of these big special effects films you go and see, and it's on the big screen. It's amazing. It looks cool, but you're just bored in between.
Bored in between. Lovely. Yeah. And you were quite looking forward to this as well, weren't you?
I enjoyed it, but there's just nothing really to the story. The writing of the characters is uninteresting, and there's no humour either in the writing or even in like the animation in the backgrounds. They could hundreds of opportunities. They could have done something in the background that would have been funny. The occasional thing of having a bird or something sitting on a tree as they all fly past and it loses its feathers or something like that. I mean, that took me 10 seconds to come up with that, and they didn't do anything like that in the film for an hour and 40 minutes.
Lovely. Right, Bachelorette. It's directed by Leslie Headland. It's actually based on a book/play that she wrote. It stars Kirsten Dunst, who plays Regan, Lizzie Kaplan, who plays Gina, Isla Fisher, who plays Katie, and at the start of the film, Kirsten Dunst's character is met up with Rebel Wilson's character, who plays Becky. Play the clip straight away to give you a feel of what the film's like.
Welcome to Club Monaco. That's totally cute. We don't have like anything that cute in the store.
Hey, why don't we try folding stuff?
Hello? Katie. Oh, I gotta take this. It's work.
You're at work.
Hey, what's up?
I don't know. It's like some drama with Becky.
Tell me everything.
I haven't really told anyone.
Can I say something? And I'm only saying this because you're my friend and I really care about you.
Do I have something on my face?
Guys like Dale, born wealthy guys, they hate going public. And if he doesn't want to be with you, it's because he's an asshole, not because you're
1/8 Jewish.
I mean, she's our friend. I love her. She has a pretty face.
Do you remember in high school? All the boys used to call her Pig Face.
Everybody called her a pig face in high school. I mean, behind her back.
We've been friends since we were little girls, Becky. I want you to be with someone who shouts it from the rooftops.
No. That's why I can't really keep it a secret anymore. Dale asked me to marry him.
That's insane.
So in that clip there, you heard Rebel Wilson's character, who plays Becky, and she's revealed to Kirsten Dunst that she is getting married. And she can't actually believe it. Kirsten Dunst then is sort of like plans out the wedding. She's been planning out the wedding for like 6 months now, because 6 months passes. On the Bachelorette night, everything just starts to go wrong, because her two other bachelorettes, who, like I said, is played by Lizzie Kaplan and Isla Fisher, they just want to do drugs. They just want to get completely drunk. They just want to have sex with lots of men, go to strip clubs, etc. An incident happens with the dress. When two of them decides to step into the dress and tear it, and so the rest of the film is them trying to hunt around to try and get this dress fixed, but obviously madcap things and crazy things happen. Yeah, it's not funny at all. Unfortunately, you might get, normally in these kind of movies, there might be, say, something controversial or something like that, which will get a snigger from you. It didn't even get a smirk or a snigger or anything like that at all. There was no movement on my face. I looked like Kristen Stewart, to be honest. Through the entirety of the film, she only has one facial expression.
You mean when she's posing for a photo or something, don't you? You don't mean all the time.
Yeah, all the time, actually. That's why I get weird looks. Honestly, she only has one facial expression in every single film that she does, and that, like, the facial expression is she looks like she's got trapped wind, and I think I did have during the entirety of this movie. I know it's a lot to give away, but it did feel like I did have that during the entirety of the movie. The characters are really despicable. They're horrible. They're nasty to Becky, and you think to yourself, she didn't deserve this just because she's much more of a larger woman, and she gets called Pigface. She does look a little bit like a pig, but it's not a very nice thing to say that to her.
That's two actresses you've insulted in 30 seconds there.
There is no chance in hell either actress is either A, listening to the show, or B, going to be able to find out where I live, and if they did, then I'll probably give them a slap and say stop acting. But yeah, they're just really nasty to Becky, and you think she doesn't deserve that. and that as the movie goes on, you're supposed to follow these characters and follow the hijinks that they go on, and you just think to yourself, I would hate you to be my friends. If you're like this, I would really, really hate you to be my friends. In the end, you're supposed to feel for them, and you don't. You just think, I've spent an hour and a half with three of the worst women I will ever spend an hour and a half with. And so it's just, the movie itself is not funny at all, and it should be avoided, even though it's on pay-per-view as well, at the same time as being released in the cinema, because it was released in the US last year. And it's taken so long for it to come out here. It shows you the kind of quality of what this movie is like. I wish the same would have actually been said about most comedy films, like Grown Ups 2, etc. Because if they followed that route, then we wouldn't have to be suckered into going and seeing them at the cinema. But just avoid this. If you see it cheap on something like Sky Box Office for say like £1, and you want to watch a comedy, then keep the £1, because that's more funnier.
Okay. Two Guns, which is the latest movie from director Baltasar Kormakur, which I hope I pronounced right and didn't butcher there. He's in the movie starring Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg, who the directors worked with before with Mark Wahlberg on Contraband. The movie stars the two of them as a couple of guys who are, as the movie opens, you see their partners. They're planning a heist at a bank where they basically go in and rob the bank of a group of a load of money in safety deposit boxes. When they come out, they find that they've got, instead of the expected about $3 million of drug dealer money, they find that there's about $43 million instead, and realise that they may be in a bit more sort of trouble than they're expecting. Things get a bit more messed up when it turns out that the two of them sort of turn on each other, but because of the fact that there are circumstances surrounding both the characters who not quite as they appear and what they have been telling each other that they are. And then things get even more complicated when later on you have a character played by Bill Paxton who comes into the movie trying to find out what's happened to this money, which apparently belonged to the CIA. Here's a clip.
You stole $43.125 million that did not belong to you. Now, man to man, who at DEA authorized you to rob our bank?
You're a banker.
You ever play Russian roulette? Thing is, most people put the gun to the temple. And, well, that's just stupid. You blow a man's head off before he's had a chance to tell you what you want to know.
So from then on, things get even more complicated because of the fact that the two of them are at opposing ends, have to come together to figure out what's going on because they're both in trouble with certain people, and try and figure out what's going on. Here's the thing with Two Guns. It's not exceptional. It's not bad. It's average, but it is then elevated slightly by the fact of that you've got, first of all, Denzel Washington, who just elevates any movie that he's in. You could watch Denzel Washington doing a terrible film and it would be elevated slightly just by having him in it and acting, because as usual he is his just brilliant self in it. Mark Wahlberg as well brings a kind of decent quality to this where other actors may not have worked in it because of the fact of that there are some quite quick-witted scenes of the two of them talking. If you've seen the trailers, there's a couple of bits of that in there, and there's the two of them back and forth, and I think that works with his character especially because he's very quick when he does that. And these moments every now and again do bring in some good humour to it. It genuinely made me laugh, not a lot but a fair amount, and not always big laughs but giggles and stuff as well. There's fun to be had here. It's not a brilliant film. It is a casual kind of, it's one of these kind of B-grade movies that you sit back, turn off your brain, popcorn in hand, and you have a lot of fun with it. I mean, you had that sequence there that you had with Bill Paxton, who's in it, who comes along later in the film, but he's then pops up every now and again, and he has this weirdness to his scenes, as you heard there, with him playing Russian roulette, which is done a little bit differently than I've seen it before, which I kind of liked. And it's just overall fun from start to end. Ending's a little bit of a okay, but I suspect that's possibly done in that way. So if this does well enough, they'll probably make a sequel in a few years' time.
It took, whether I had the numbers on my screen, it took, so far it's taken $59 million at the US box office. Don't know the budget on it though.
I think its budget was only something between sort of 60 to 90 million as well, so it's not a big budget film. I think if this hangs around a little while longer, makes a bit that it'll probably make back its costs in cinema and then do all right on DVD. And so if it does well on DVD, I expect then we'll hear soon after that they'll go, oh yeah, there's going to be 3 guns, and they'll bring in another character, which wouldn't be a surprise because that's how they seem to do things now. That's it for this week's cinema releases. Hang around for a moment on Spreaker if you're listening to us live. Come back in a moment for DVDs and Blu-rays.